skills. It allows us to build narrative about Agent 47 and then take him into his first real mission, which is Paris, that you can see here. Yeah. So the tutorial was about helping people understand replay, and then we put them into a level like Paris, which is huge. It's the biggest level, at this point at least, that we've ever built. It's full of stories and opportunities and spectacular kills. Now, as you guys have played the game, know Hitman has always been about that kind of depth, but for this, we felt that we needed to take that to a level that matched what we can do now, just with the new platforms and the new games, to create a whole palace in Paris and fill it with a fashion show, and then let the player loose to go in and do it clean or do it not so clean, as is often the case, but just take the brakes off and give the player the freedom. So when we call it the stealth action sandbox, the creative sandbox, I mean, that's what we're talking about. Here's a game, here are the moving pieces, like a big clockwork machine. What can you do with it?
Now we're entering episode 2, Sapienza.
Yeah, so for the next couple of episodes here, we're still, the storyline is still a background presence, but the missions are very much connected to it. But again, so for 1847, it's still an overlay. And in Sapienza, we're playing a little bit around with genres here. This is like a classic James Bond fiction about a scientist who's creating a DNA-specific virus. And then afterwards, when we go to Marrakesh, it's more like a political thriller about stopping a coup d'etat from happening in Morocco.
Yeah, but what Sapienza was, I think, an answer to a challenge that our studio creative director set us, which was, how big is the biggest Hitman level you can do? And we did an Italian coastal town with a mansion and a cave and a marina area and back streets, and filled it with characters and filled it with the life that you would expect. And really tried to deliver on this promise of tourism. So traveling the world is obviously part of it, but part of it is also this kind of voyeuristic tourism, like looking at someone through a sniper rifle. Yes. Or, as we see here in the third episode in Marrakesh, this kind of edgy conflict tourism, going to an exotic location that is hours before a military coup. And I mean, the interesting thing with it is that, as you mentioned, Michael, this is a day in someone else's office for Agent 47. He's not there to save the world. Someone paid, and a banker and a general are going to die. But what this level really helped us to explore was what we could do in terms of building spaces that we could change later. And we'll see some shots from it later in this presentation, but we build these levels, and because of the way we built our game with our service game structure, we can change the levels and create new experiences in places that players have already been.
Also, not sure if I need to say this, but everything you see here is straight from the game. It's all in-game captures.
So, I mean, that freedom of approach really is both like the bane and the curse of building games like these, because we never know at any time where the player is and what they're doing, and all the characters in the game are reacting. And what we're seeing here is a little fun thing we did in the mid-season. We created 2 missions, one in Sapienza and one in Marrakesh. This one is the Icon, it's basically the Italian Iron Man film set. And this one is Marrakesh by night. The same location, but it's set about a year earlier in the evening market. Just kind of showcasing what we can do to rework and rejig and recreate new experiences in our level.
Right, so this is Bangkok, and it represents a turning point in the overall storyline. Because on the face of it, Bangkok is the most unbelievable of all the missions. It's about a rock star who murdered his girlfriend, and then he got away with it due to the wealth and power of his father. But this actually marks a turning point in the aftermath of this mission, where 47 and Vienna realized that all the stuff they've been doing throughout the season has been part of a more sinister design. And start to take active action into figuring out what's actually happening behind the scenes.
And one thing that I really like about this level is obviously that it's a hotel, and we have sort of a history of hotels, and many things happen in hotels. It was a way for us to build a smaller physical space, but keep the same size in terms of spaces you can move through, because one room to the next, one floor to the next, a restaurant to a kitchen, these are actual biomes in the game. And this showed us that it didn't need to be geographically big to feel enormous. You can actually have just very few meters between your target and where you start, and still have a big experience.